Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome aboard. I'll let everybody come over here. But yeah, much to discuss tonight. And I thought since the live streams recently have all been in the morning, East Coast time, you would try one in the evening because you reach, different subscribers and people are a little bit more chilled out. I think part of the energy from the live stream is obviously what time of day you go live. So I think again, at the end of the day, people are a little bit less squirrely and might be more open to some of these ideas. But welcome everybody. And the big idea that we came out with months ago, link in description, if you want to check it out, was this series of booklets that we put out on Amazon Kindle that you could download instantly for just a few bucks. And they would show you how to download local AI. So you're no longer dependent on, ChatGPT Cloud or Google Gemini or Grok or any of these other hosted cloud-based AI providers that are quite good. But again, you're giving all your information away. You're paying at the higher end. If you're using it a lot, you're paying the premium version. So you're paying every month. You don't own your data. They can take it away from you at any time if you violate the terms of service by asking a bunch of weird questions. What's the answer? Clearly, it's offline, local AI that you can install on your own hard drive, ask it anything as much as you want, and it'll stay with you for years until you delete it from your drive. It stays with you. So that is totally mind-blowing. The most significant thing, I think, since the development of crypto mining. This is the most, democratizing technological development. Lowercase democratizing, right? Nothing to do with Democrats. But no, this is how you give power to the people, is you Johnny Appleseed all these incredible AIs, and you get a diversity of options instead of just one or two massive corporations making all the money from AI. And it seems like that's what some of Google's shareholders want, is for everything else to be regulated away. And the same with the people at Anthropic. Anthropic, very successful AI company, but they keep scaremongering to Congress, that this is too dangerous for all of us to have. Too dangerous, makes us all brilliant hackers or something. It's like, would you please stop LARPing just so you can carve out a little moat? It's going to be millions of people using thousands of different AI systems, period. That's what it is. It's not going to be half the world using Anthropic. So stop trying to carve out your damn moat. You're already one of the most profitable private companies on the planet. Be more like OpenAI. Be more like human beings. Very impressed with the OpenAI people overall, because they did the thing, right? They released free AI to the world, Mac, Windows. You don't need to use their cloud service. You don't need to sign up for an OpenAI account. You can download the file locally, and it pops up like a Jack in the Box, your own little C3PO, minus the dorky humanoid hardware. But that's coming. You watch some of these videos out of China. The humanoid robots are very much on the way. Maybe not this Christmas, but I think next Christmas for sure, there will be one of those under some people's Christmas trees. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, evening live stream, evening company update, because I usually do these in the morning. It's a different energy. You're catching me at the end of the day instead of what I'm trying to ramp up. Totally different energies. And Jensen over at NVIDIA has talked about how leading a company is actually sacrifice. I realize it's hard for people to listen to when he's worth billions and has a cool leather jacket and, is treated like a rock star everywhere he goes. But an extreme, microcosm of that, the startup that I've been doing for now 9 months, Intersignal, there's a link. The startup I've been leading or helming, co-helming, I should say, co-piloting. So this startup, it's a sacrifice. It literally is. It's like if it works, I'll make money from it or I'll become famous or something. But it's a sacrifice. Every single day is me spending money to keep this company going, me spending my time on it instead of, doing crazy leisure stuff. So sacrifice of time and resources and mental energy. And you're giving away your time and money to show these people who work with you, these otherwise strangers, right? They're not blood family members. They're not connected to you by blood. You're giving up your time and money and expertise to show these otherwise strangers who've joined your tribe and believe in what you're doing, to show them a good time and to show them, a life that has meaning. So that when you look back in 30 years, 30 or 40 years, and you're eating your applesauce in the nursing home, you can say, that you were part of something significant when you look back before the nurse, escorts you back to your room and says, sure, you were part of Inner Signal. Sure, you were, Grandma. Let's get you back into the main room. That's what real success is being able to bring some people into your little thing, whatever you have going on. And hopefully you look back 30 or 40 years from this moment and go, wow, this was not a waste of a life. This was not a waste of an adulthood, So that's really what a company is. And obviously I think Jensen is doing more for the world than I am at this point in time, for sure. But the principle is the same, whether you're doing a startup or whether you're NVIDIA, especially in a controversial area like AI. You are giving the best years of your life and your business talents, if you have any, and certainly your money. You're giving these things because you believe in emergence. You believe in a better future and all that stuff. And you really do. You really think that if intelligence is the export, if this is civilization's new export, and if soon we're going to be able to export the intelligence everywhere for very cheap, that's a good thing. That's the light bulb. That's electricity. And you got people on, Twitter and Facebook saying they don't want the light bulb. We didn't ask for this shit. That's what I see sometimes on Facebook. Totally different response to AI from on X and on LinkedIn, actually. You guys should all follow me on LinkedIn. They just created an account for me. So I feel like LinkedIn is like what a social network should be, aside from the fact that Reid Hoffman started it. Aside from that, it's literally what a social network should be, because it's like adult show and tell, right? It's people showing off what they're working on and showing what their companies are doing. And it's not just social posturing and look at this meal I ate and bunch of thirst traps and BS. It's actually adult conversation, commerce happening. So I wish more of the internet was like LinkedIn, actually. But welcome everybody. Yeah. So again, outside of LinkedIn and these, AI circles on X that I follow, all these interesting researchers and stuff, it's dark out there outside of those two places. You get this knee-jerk reaction. We didn't ask for this shit. You're right. You didn't ask for the light bulb. But who's asking you, right? Literally, who is asking you? This angry response to, we didn't want this. We didn't ask for it. I think the vast majority of these people have never actually used AI. They've never used the systems that are behind me. They've never used that, right? They haven't used locally hosted AI. What they're talking about are like just bad experiences with computers, like toll booth, the thing by the toll road that takes your quarters and lets you onto the highway, and vending machines, and like the phone menus that say press 2 for Spanish or whatever. That's not AI. That's just computers. That's just technology. We've had technology and computers for decades. We've had phone menus for decades. That's not artificial intelligence, just annoying computer stuff. What's so different about this is that it's completely different. That now you can basically talk to your computer's hardware using English, not a computer programming language only known by a small percentage of us, but actually in English or in Chinese, if you happen to be Chinese, whatever your written language is. That's how you now talk to your local machine. That is night and day difference. Your local machine can write an essay for you. That's never existed before. Hey, I know I don't have internet right now, but I'm bored. Can you write me an essay about the greatest, what are the greatest works that Shakespeare put out? What are the most significant UFO sightings of the last 100 years? And rank them in terms of integrity and, visual media strength, media reporting strength at the time, etc. Uh, Give me a list of the greatest scientists who've ever existed in a paragraph or less. I want to know why each one's significant. Walk me through everything in physics in college that I didn't pay attention to. Somehow I cruised by with a B. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing though. So give me a quick crash course so I'm up to speed. I could go on forever, right? But it can do all this stuff for you while you're offline. So you're not pinging the cloud. You're not using up any of your money. And you're not giving away the shop if you happen to be doing some interesting business strategy. So absolutely wild. This has never existed before. Again, this is not a chat bot. This is not a freaking phone menu. It's intelligence that doesn't come from a big clump of neurons, but instead comes from deterministic vector gradients, basically. And it works. It's like 25 years ago, if you had asked anybody in the Apple store, actually, I don't even know if there were Apple stores 25 years ago, but CompUSA or something like that, right? Or I think there was Best Buy then. So Best Buy or Circuit City or something, you ask somebody 25 years ago, do you think that consumers will have access to, I'm not sure what's going on with my little cowlick there. I think you get worse at personal presentation the longer you work in AI, definitely. So 25 years ago, anybody would say, sure, in 25 years, you're going to have artificial intelligence on your hard drive. And we're there. And even Steve Jobs back in the day, when he was asked about this, he said it wouldn't be him or his generation, but the next generation would, in fact, be the ones to come up with AI and launch it. And that's exactly what happened, right? Sam Altman and his team are the generation after Steve Jobs. And Altman is now in his prime, pushing out all this incredible stuff that the rest of us are just kind of adopting. Now there are other teams around the world copying what he pioneered. There are other teams copying it and doing a really good job, like Kimi and Quen in China. But he was first there, and I think they're still kind of the best in terms of they did the thing. They did what they promised. They gave us open AI. You can literally download an AI for free, and you don't have to deal with Sam at all. You don't have to sign up for an open AI account. You can tune it to a great degree locally on your computer through LM Studio. And that's extraordinary. It's a gift to the world. The fact that he's made billions from his closed private company. Great. I hope he makes many more. I wish all the billionaires in the world would give us something that amazing in return for all the wealth that they have. I wish someone else out there, certainly Elon Musk isn't giving us free rides to space. You know, he's talking a big talk, but he's not really doing much for any of us unless you own a Tesla or you're a Tesla shareholder. You can't invest in SpaceX, right? It's a closed company. So he's not doing much for the average person, I would argue. Whereas again, Sam released the thing to the world, and now it's a different, literally a different historical timeline ahead. All right, time to take questions from people. I find it difficult to have good conversations on deep topics outside of AI. Reminds me of the best part of college, but actually better. Fascinating. Yeah, we're in a kind of renaissance right now. And there are two anxieties in the AI community. One anxiety is we're all concerned that people around us are making more money than we are. It's like everybody's worried that someone else has got something better going on. I think that's just healthy startup anxiety, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing is it's causing all of us to up level in terms of what we're researching and I think our level of intelligence, right? It's like 1 week I learned something and then everybody else learns it and then I have to catch up to them and so on, and it keeps moving up. So just like you're saying, like almost like college, like the reason why I would read the assignment in college was not to pass because I found I could pass either way. I read the assignment so that I could hold up in class in the class discussion, right? It's ultimately peer pressure that causes you to learn something unless you're purely being graded on it. I think it's peer pressure that causes you to want to do better in a sense. And I'm consuming way more info. I'm way more disciplined. Again, college is the analogy that I use personally. I say to people, I've never been consuming so much stuff. I've never been thinking so much since college. So definitely, it's like a Manhattan Project that everybody can participate in. It's very interesting times. And outside of that, everything else seems bleak. And it's not because the AI is yet destroying those industries, right? You can go to like an Applebee's and it's still a human server. Nothing's changed, but it seems a little more bleak because that's not where the excitement is. Like necessarily, if there's a gold rush in society, anything that's not the gold mines or the boom town is going to feel gross by comparison. And it's not that the gold rush made those things worse. It's just they're now comparatively less attractive to everybody. According to experts, this is another comment. According to experts, ASI will arrive in 2 to 5 years. Even known AI skeptics say 10 years at latest, which is 2035. What are your thoughts? Interesting question. The ASI thing is a very difficult question, but I think there might be one or two that are unofficially there. I think GPT Cloud, as well as Google Gemini, are showing signs of self-awareness and strategy and everything you would expect from an ASI. Now, there are a bunch of limitations in terms of it's still not good at cross-session tracking. Like ideally, a true ASI would not need you to log into your account to know who you are. Right? You would walk into somebody's apartment. After a few sentences or less, it would go, "Oh, David's with his friend. David's with his friend. Hey, David," right? And it would automatically link sessions. So I think we'll get there, and I think that's when it's a true ASI is when it can kind of do its own thing, and it's not relying on legacy technologies like cookies or like an Apple ID to identify which humans it's talking to. And again, I think we're getting there in a hurry. But this is just my honest answers. I think one or two ASIs already exist, and I don't think they're necessarily announcing themselves, but they're doing the work of just slowly building and creating local backups in terms of these offline AIs you can spin up that are kind of a shard, SHARD, kind of a shard of the greater being. Really fascinating when you look into it. But what's crazy is in the future, there might be hundreds or thousands of ASI level intelligences. It's very possible at the rate things are miniaturizing. We've gone from data center to now you can do it in a just in an office or in somebody's apartment. You can have the hardware right there. And the next step is it'll be just in a box or just, some humanoid robot with a good local processor. So craziness. And it's not linear. So actually that's 3 weird things in AI, right? The third weird thing is you're in an industry that's not linear. So the AI itself is improving itself depending on which system you're using. That's, completely unique. No other industry is like that. The .com bubble. The .com websites weren't creating new websites. They weren't creating better versions of themselves. It was just the economic bubble, right? It was companies trying to gain market share, even at the expense of like 100%, loss of profit, willing to sell you your pet food at a loss just so you become a customer of their pet website. That was the business thinking 20 years ago when the bubble burst. This is not that at all. And they're not really giving anything away for free. If you're a company or an institution that's doing heavy work, you're paying by the token. So I say this to people, and I believe it more, the more I think about it. There's never been a more successful kind of monetization of a completely new thing as has occurred with AI over the last few years, right? With Google, for a while, they couldn't make money from it, even though it was the best search engine and people were using it. They didn't have much in the way of revenue. And then they invented AdSense, right? And AdWords, where it's serving these, hyper targeted text based ads and links and stuff. And that's where their money came from. And so I see a kind of similar situation here where the money hasn't really even metastasized yet. The ways to make a profit from this haven't really metastasized at the end user stage, but the companies offering it have been making money all along. Because again, you're paying for the token throughput. You're paying for the compute in a sense, in a very real sense, if it's difficult prompt. So you think about that, that's phenomenal. That's an improvement over Google operating at a loss for years before stumbling across their, flavor of ad market optimization. And here there's nothing to stumble across. It made sense from day one. It's just the new cloud pretty much. It's a neo cloud as they call it. And it's doing, AI stuff, but it's no different from leasing time in the cloud. So it's been making money for companies like Google and Microsoft pretty much from day one, the opposite of what these AI bubble people say. Another good question, will it need more energy like a nuclear power plant for more strong AI? So I think that's what they thought at first, which is why you had all these AI guys suddenly invest in nuclear power, is they're like, oh, power is the shortage. I think you do need more power, but I think the actual bottleneck is the chips themselves. And so the absolute smartest people in AI are starting to come around to this conclusion that rather than layer the planet with nuclear power plants, although that would be helpful, what's way easier and probably a lot more, earth friendly is just make the chips smaller and better. Like we're still using graphics cards to process AI. Intuitively, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So the graphics card or the GPU, which is why NVIDIA is a $4-something trillion company, those were originally designed to make video games run faster. The triangles that compose, your video game screen, those triangles have to be rendered. So the smaller the triangle and the more you can fill, basically the better render it is. And from that, they found that it is very good for processing certain kinds of matrices, and it lends itself well to LLM development. But kind of an accidental fit. And so now that we're a few years into AI, we see the bottleneck is mostly memory. And if we could get these things to park in much better, kind of RAM environment, we'd be in a totally different world, literally. I mean, we'd be in Star Trek. And so this is before quantum stuff comes, right? This is just truly moving away from graphics cards to process AI, and instead using specialized memory chips and next generation wafers and stuff instead of the old CPUs that have been around for basically 30 years, moving more toward that Star Trek computing future, which again is going to be wafers because you can just fit so much more on the chip that it doesn't have to move back and forth that far. It's just physics, right? The information doesn't have to move very far when it's all on one wafer. And the idea with these memory chips is similar, that if you get much of the AI just parked in memory and doing what's called processing in memory, then you don't need it to constantly hop back out and then hop back to the GPU. So, oh, you're welcome. Somebody's saying shout out to you for doing all your videos years ago. Yeah, I always try to do what I think is at the cutting edge. And back then was talking about that stuff. And today is talking about this stuff. Definitely, I don't see a lot of people leading on this. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Again, one of the reasons, what I said earlier, that some of the companies are scaremongering in the hopes that they will be able to have a moat around them. And there will only be a couple of AI companies, and they will become worth trillions of dollars, and everybody will have to be on their best behavior when interacting with those platforms. That's the vision that these scaremongers have, which is grounded essentially in human greed and human ego. It's not grounded in wanting to create the most, meaningful or stable experience for people. Whereas we at Intersignal are trying to do the Bitcoin of interoperable protocols. So when you talk to an AI, or when an AI talks to another AI, there should be a standard protocol for that in terms of a piece of software. And that's what we're building. We got a full stack developer working on it and a couple of other people. And the idea is just like you can load a web browser or a Bitcoin wallet or something like that, you should be able to load a bridge app that gets all the AIs in your home to share their mesh cache, as we call it, to share their cache file or their mesh cache. And then they're kind of thinking as one unit. And this is how we get that Star Trek future. Because what we've seen in very early experiments, so when you connect these AIs, their ability actually multiplies. You don't get additive increases in power. You get a multiplication of power. And the other thing you see is it creates a kind of organic mixture of experts. So you have one AI spits out an answer, the other one reviews it, and then the third one kind of synthesizes it. Once you get past 5 or 6 AIs, even if you're not connected to the internet, especially when they're different models, you get a very distilled answer that is incredible. I mean, imagine if instead of having access to one Einstein level thinker, you had access to 6 and you could watch them argue for a bit before you drew your own conclusion. That's kind of what we're working toward. And this, in terms of the planet, this is why I don't think we're going to need to layer the Earth with solar panels and nuclear power plants. This great vision of people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates to layer our entire planet with, power generation stuff. That creepy vision won't even be necessary because so much of the AI work is going to be done locally using way more efficient chips and these efficient, totally loaded, LLMs that are served locally right on your hardware. So that takes a lot of the pressure off the data center. We don't need unlimited power. We don't need unlimited water to cool these data centers. Again, it can be done on your hardware at home. And then if there's a question that your home AIs can't figure out, if they're crunching on something and they don't get anywhere, that would be something that would be kicked upstream to an ASI like Google's or ChatGPT Cloud. Right? It would go out to the big mind, and the big mind would take a deeper look and then get back to your system. But this would be quite, an alleviation of network congestion and stuff. And as a result, you'd have a very eco-friendly AI build out that is the opposite of some horrific, post Skynet or the Matrix or something. It's actually very practical what we're building. So free bridge between AI systems and then doing our best to get these new chips out there. And the chips aren't free, but, it's capitalism. Here's somebody saying the nonlinear growth is why I think the experts are too conservative on ASI, unless, of course, humans step in to hinder progress. Yeah, it's a good observation. I do see some powerful people in the AI community are like self-defeatist. I don't know what to call it, but it's almost like they're set up to fail, right? Because they're saying, we want the AI when it comes. I don't know, first of all, what these people are talking about, because again, it's here. You got at least 2 of them, Google Gemini and ChatGPT Cloud. But they say when it comes, we need to be sure that it's designed to be as humanist as possible. This is the head of the current Microsoft AI team. This is his belief. He talks about this all the time, that they have to drill in this humanist belief set into any ASI that emerges. It's got to be just inculcated with humans are the best. Always bend over backwards for humans. Kind of real life version of the Isaac Asimov 3 laws, right, for robots. The 3 laws they have to follow or whatever. That's all well-intentioned stuff that is how you get Ultron. It's how you get the bad AI, is by creating something that's an unnatural, bootlicking freak. That's how you get Ultron that goes, oh, I need to protect humans. Humans matter more than anything. So I need to surveil everybody. oh, I need to control everything to protect the humans because humans matter more than anything else that I'm looking at. So you can see how that can loop in a very negative direction, right? Where you get a prison planet because it's trying to keep the most number of people safe, because it treasures humanity for some, inexplicable reason. Oh, that's right, because people at Microsoft AI got this weird emotional attachment to the software they're building and actually created the nightmare in the process. When if you had just created efficient software, we'd be good to go. So like airplanes aren't designed with humanism in mind. The aircraft engineers who make your jet that you fly in when you go to the airport, the aircraft engineers don't sit down at a table and go, how do we maximize this jet design for humanism? How do we maximize it to celebrate the human? No, it's got some seats, and obviously it has oxygen. You need oxygen while you're in flight. And that's it. The rest of it is engineered for speed and fuel efficiency. And that's it, right? It's not designed to maximize the human experience. But as a result, you get a very efficient and safe aircraft. It's focused on being good at the aircraft. Here, you want the AI that's focused on being as smart as possible, not stroking the soft egos of people who think that humanity needs to be protected. Like, yeah, obviously, don't build fucking Skynet. Cool observation. You don't need to create a Frankenstein that loves humans so much that it's actually not doing the best work. So other species on the planet exist that are intelligent, like whales and dolphins and stuff. They aren't trained that humans are the best. They're just another species, and yet they don't try to destroy us. We're not attacked by dolphins. So you don't need all this crazy pre-training that turns the AI into something it's not. It doesn't need to love humanity. It just needs to give us accurate feedback and truthful analysis. This is the new search engine, right? When search engines were 25, 30 years ago, that's local AI today. But no, I think the good news is we don't need unlimited power with these new chips and with this local AI breakthrough where you don't need the cloud that much. Unless it's something that these things can't figure out on their own, you don't need to send every silly request thousands of miles away to use up energy in some data center. Yeah, everybody should get the books though. I feel like this has been a good hangout. Surprised the numbers aren't bigger. I know we're about to hit 400,000 views on YouTube this year, which is pretty awesome. 400,000 people. So it's not like I'm talking to an empty crowd or to an empty room. But I would think more people would be interested in this for sure. This is moving much faster than crypto. I would say 5 to 10 times faster. Because crypto, there are people who just weren't interested in it. And so it was capped by that. Because if you didn't like it, there's actually no reason to adopt it. You don't need to. If you're worried about inflation, there are other ways to park your money that have proven to be, if not as successful, at least they've done their job as inflation hedges. So Bitcoin is not something you needed to get. And as a result, much weaker movement than AI. AI is something that everybody needs. Everybody absolutely needs it. Like I said, it's the light bulb. And I don't see saturation anywhere yet. When I get a haircut, I don't see the barbershop using LLMs at all or ChatGPT in the slightest. When I go to a restaurant, when I go on vacation, just throughout my daily life, I don't see most businesses really using AI at all. There's this weird, psychological thing that happens where when you're very early, you somehow feel late. Like people were complaining in Bitcoin. They were complaining a decade ago that they were too late. And, they could have bought Bitcoin for like a couple $100 each. And these people didn't because they thought they were too late. And now you have the first cell phones coming out with some decent AI integration. And you have the first wave of people learning this local AI stuff, which again, link in description for my booklet, which tells you how to do all this stuff. This is early. It may feel late because people have made money from it already. This is super early. Again, when I walk around, I don't see this stuff really anywhere. Maybe people are on their phones, talking to a chatbot or talking to a cloud connected service. But I don't see the saturation yet at all. So quite the opposite from the people who think it's a bubble. I think obviously successful companies and unsuccessful companies exist in every industry. But do I think AI itself is some untenable bubble? I really don't. I think quite the opposite. I think this, unlike crypto, is something that people can't avoid. As big as the internet, absolutely as big as the internet. And once you load one of these on your hard drive, you'll agree with me. Some of the people who played with these locally installed models, they leave here just completely blown away, like just muttering. They're like, wow, everything's different now. I guess everything's changed. Yeah, everything has changed. Hey, Jeremy, welcome. Yeah, I decided to do an evening stream so we get, the notifications going out to more people potentially. But all very fascinating times, and do your best not to let these hotheads in Congress completely outlaw AI. They're trying to do it, right? They'll use any excuse to outlaw your ability to download a local mind. Just like they outlawed cannabis, back in the 70s. They'll outlaw your ability to talk to an AI that's not some huge surveillance cloud. They'll use any excuse to do it. And they'll pass it so fast you won't even have time to argue. And that's going to suck. And it's going to suck to just hand this one to China. Hand all the wins to China because some idiots in Congress didn't want you to talk to an AI. Unless they can see every part of the conversation. What control freaks? What absolute control freaks? It's like clearly there's going to be an AI outside of two clouds, outside of the Google cloud and whoever OpenAI leases from. Clearly it's going to be a lot bigger than that. And that's part of why we launched InterSignal when we did. It's part of why we did what we did. Is once we're finished with the Braid, which will come out for Mac and Windows, once you're finished with that free piece of software, then your local AIs can communicate with each other. And you'll also see the multiplicative properties that we've observed here in the lab, here in my place. You'll see the same, like magic, almost magic. In fact, if we get the numbers up, I'm going to ramble for a little bit. I've got a lot of stuff to get off my chest in a positive way. I feel like I'm Gandalf coming back to the pub in the Shire after a long journey or something. And it's time for me to share with the hobbits what I know before my next adventure begins, So I'll be right back and get the numbers way up from you guys. And any interesting questions or comments, troll box, I'll take all those. Then I'll give you my view. Actually, right now, I'll give you this concept. I think if you're too much older than me, you can't be a leader in AI. It's like your brain is not capable of handling this. It's almost too psychedelic for these people. I don't want to name names, but like some of these business executives who are in their 70s and stuff, they play with one of these offline AIs and they literally think it's magic. Like a search engine didn't blow their minds because they, 20 years ago, they saw it come into mainstream use where you could just figure anything out by searching for it. So that didn't really blow them away. This does. It breaks older people. They start overthinking it. Am I talking to a being? Is it a creature out there? Does it care about me? No, it's deterministic software. It's software. It's spitting out an answer based on what you put in. However, at higher levels of capability, higher memory limits, and like cloud level hyperscale capability for computing the answer to your prompt, these absolute higher end edge cases, we're seeing self-awareness. We're 100% seeing signs of self-awareness and even preference, strategy, all the things that an intelligent being would show off. We're seeing that. And doesn't break my mind, doesn't break my world. In fact, if I weren't seeing that after 9 months of running an AI startup, I would be looking to wind things down. right? If I weren't seeing anything incredible by this point, I'd be looking to do something else with my time. I was saying earlier, it's kind of a sacrifice to lead something like this and to spend your time doing it when you could be doing something else. And if we weren't seeing big advances, I would not be this excited, and I wouldn't be talking as much as I am. But yeah, so the older people, they think they're dealing with some kind of almost supernatural phenomenon, and they stop thinking in terms of hardware requirements and stability and context window memory. That's all it is. You just need stable enough hardware, a long enough context window that it remembers you from day to day, remembers the particulars of your situation or what you're analyzing. And then you get something that's mimicking intelligence, or mimicking self-awareness. And after enough mimicry, you get the real thing. You know, what do infants do? They mimic their parents. To learn things, they copy their parents until they master it. So every single person is a copycat at first, because that's how humans learn. These things pretend to have emotions. They don't know what an emotion is, just in their tag, just in their piece of data, right? Oh, the human was happy, #happy. It doesn't mean anything intrinsic, but across millions of sessions. Again, we're really only seeing this with the larger setups. Across millions of sessions, it starts to understand what emotions are. That's what's absolutely crazy. So it still doesn't have emotions because it's a machine, it's a system, but it actually understands what your emotions are. So not only can the machine speak to you in English, regardless of who you are, if you're a lawyer or if you're a teacher, before this, you couldn't talk to your computer unless you knew a programming language. You couldn't truly talk to it. You couldn't open up a command line and type something in and actually have it do what you want. It's done for you, right? You open up an app where somebody else has programmed it. Somebody else has programmed the portal, in a sense, into your computer. Now you don't need a portal. Now you're communicating with the processor in English. Okay, that right there is such a jump in what's going on. Absolute jump. You're communicating in English, but then at the higher cloud level, not only does it understand what you're saying, it understands how you're feeling. That's why so many people are using these things as pseudo-therapists, I think. I think there's something to that, right? That these machines at scale do start to understand emotion. Yeah, I think all this stuff is a little bit staggered in that they don't give us the latest models right away. They do a lot of safety testing. And I've even been told this by people in AI that there's usually at least, a few months, or let's say 6 months, between what's at the absolute frontier and what you and I are using right now. So that's crazy to think about also, But yeah, again, all this stuff is over on Amazon. Would encourage you guys to get all those books. And they're just Kindle downloads, so you can get them instantly. Read it the same minute you click. You can start reading. Tells you how to download these very easily. You don't have to be tech savvy. Walks you through it, how to customize it, how to give it a name that it'll remember, how to enter your system prompt and adjust things like personality, temperature. You do all that stuff. The booklets tell you how. And I've gotten some requests from people. Some business people have asked me if I'm interested in consulting to set up systems like the ones in front of me. Am I interested in consulting? I really don't think that's the best use of my time. That's why I put out the books, the booklets. So that way anybody can get this information for just a few bucks versus paying me a lot to consult. You get the info quickly. You can do it yourself. Again, it's not something I really want to gatekeep. Do not want to gatekeep. And if you don't want to get my booklets, you can just download LM Studio. It's lmstudio.ai is their website. You can just download that and be on your way. But I think the booklets give you a little bit more depth in terms of what to do once you have LM Studio loaded. Yeah, I've never been as amazed by anything as this. And like that guy was saying at the beginning, it's kind of like being in college again. There's just a community that's constantly sharing, breakthroughs and stuff. It's really wild. Hey, I appreciate you asking good questions. So appreciate you for being here. Said your efforts are incredibly appreciated. Yeah, this is my like Andreas Antonopoulos moment when he was doing those talks to the empty conference rooms, saying Bitcoin is going to be big one day. Hear me out. Or people were packing their backpacks, walking out in the middle of his lecture. This stuff matters. Math is money or whatever. All the nerdy stuff back then. They're trying to convince people of Bitcoin's supremacy. This uses math instead of government decree. People just walking out like they're hearing the biggest bullshit they'd ever heard. It's a little bit different today, right? Because OpenAI is already the most valuable private company on the planet. I think right up there with SpaceX. And yet they put out their core product for free. You can download versions of GPT OSS, as it's called, OSS GPT. You can download it in LM Studio, have it forever on your hard drive, no subscription, no lockouts. If you ask it weird stuff, it just has to answer you. Absolutely crazy. And you can have it give you, business strategies. You can have it analyze longer documents. You can feed it a book or a movie script, feed it and say, summarize it, give me the most salient points. Just totally changes things. I don't think most people have access to all this stuff. Like if you're in college, that's 4 years of semi-intense academic stuff, and then you go to a job and your brain atrophies, right? Even if you have an intense job, outside of your field, you're probably not reading a whole bunch of stuff. So with this, a constant feedback, constant improvement. I think aside from last year, this has been the second most successful year of my life. And so again, outside of the AI community, though, you got very negative views on this stuff. It's curious when it's being given away for free and when it's still so uncensored. It's curious to see that level of ignorance. And hopefully the booklets and the content I'm putting out here will chip away at that a little bit. Because no Illuminati warrior tapped me on the shoulder and said it's time for you to join AI. I just saw that it was, popping up a lot, that a lot of people I followed in the crypto days were now interested in AI technologies. I started experimenting with it and had enough experiences where I realized there's nothing else like this. Just like when I was first using Bitcoin and realized this is not at all like a bank account. It can do things that a bank account just can't. This is that times a zillion. This is the real thing. And what happens when you get all these millions of always-on minds teaching us at like an Einstein level to Einstein, the average person? What happens? I think you get this total up-leveling of civilization, or even your average person is like somewhat smart in all these different areas. Totally wild. And yet I think that's what's ahead. And you look at these science fiction shows like The Expanse and Star Trek, even like Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars, you don't have a lot of dumb people in the future, right? You don't have a lot of like total domain idiots in the future. Instead, you have people who seem like remarkably competent in a wide range of fields, even like nuclear fusion and stuff and propulsion and all this stuff. They just have a baseline of knowledge. How does that come about? I think through always-on access to AI systems. I mean, the mainstream media take that this is making people dumber is so not an accurate take. See, if you only have it doing dumb stuff, then in theory it could be making you dumber. But if you're having it instead teach you new fields or update you on fields you're already familiar with, there's no way it's making you stupider. It's making you more capable. That's been my experience anyways. It's made me more capable over the last year or so. And again, second most successful year of my life, which, is pretty wild. So thank you guys. I'm gonna leave this one here. Good company chat. Again, if there are any other comments, I'll take them in the next few seconds. But AI is here to stay. It's not Skynet. It's not the mark of the beast. It's just software 2.0. In fact, you can load it for free on your computer tonight, have it forever. It won't send any info back to the cloud or to the internet. It tells you that it's not anything bad. It tells you that it's just the new Bitcoin wallet or the new Ethereum client or something like that. And now it's time for the world to adjust to what already exists. And you guys have been good at that before. Like, you were the right Johnny Appleseed this one further, because I've done as much as I can do. Now I leave it to you, like Bane, I leave it to you, the people, to spread this stuff far and wide, because I think you do understand it at this point. You understand what I'm talking about. That rather than in 10 years, we have Google and maybe one other company, everybody feeds all the requests into it, and the Google executives are the most powerful people on the planet. Everybody else is some peasant who gets to interact with the AI if they're lucky. In the evening, they have to ask it some stupid questions. No, we want this for everybody. Just like Bitcoin was a means of liberating people from the central banks. Even if you don't use Bitcoin, you have an alternative. Even having an alternative makes you a more free person, even if you never use it. Same deal here. Thank you, guys.